Okay, we're just about ready to start, and I just want to give you some good news. Bad news and good news? No bad news. The good news is, of course, as most of you know, that this is the last day of the year. Tomorrow, the days will start getting longer. But even better news is I found out that the bids are in, due the end of this month, for a new elevator for this building. So those, let's hear it for the elevator. So those of you who like the exercise, use the stairs, be our guest. Those of us who no longer can climb stairs as we once did, elevator. Now, no guarantee when the new elevator will be installed. It'll take a while, I'm afraid. But thank you for being so patient, and thank you for being here.
All right, well, on that happy note, welcome to our 21st annual Christmas show. My name is John Gelsomino. I am your director for tonight. Thank you for being here. We have two very different shows for you. We are going to start with a suspense and end with a My Favorite Husband. Now, last year, if you were here, we also did a suspense, similar in name, but this is a different show. The one we're doing this year is called Back for Christmas. Last year we did Out for Christmas. Two totally different stories, and just fair warning, last year's show ended in a very uplifting way, even though it seemed ominous at times. I can't promise that for this one. So you'll have to find out. So we're going to go back to December 22nd, 1943. This was the second season of Suspense. And as many of you know, Suspense was probably the second most expensive show to put on in old-time radio. Probably the Lux Radio Theater was the only one more expensive because they always recruited a star from Hollywood to be the lead on the show. And that's the case in this one where Peter Lorre, who is really rising as a star, is the lead and plays a very dark character, as you will see. So let's go back to December 22nd, 1943, for a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wines, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world. The wine for your table is Roma, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world.
This is the man in black. Here for the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California, to introduce this weekly half hour of suspense. Tonight, in Hollywood, Roma brings you a star, Mr. Peter Lorre. The suspense play which stars Mr. Lorre and which is produced and directed by William Spear is called Back for Christmas. In this series, Roma brings you tales calculated to intrigue you, stir your nerves, to offer you a precarious situation, and then withhold the solution until the last possible moment. And so, with Back for Christmas, and with the performance of Peter Lorre, we again hope to keep you in suspense.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Oh, jingle bells, jingle bells.
Hubert?
Yes, my dear.
What on earth are you doing down here in the cellar?
Oh, why, just doing a little digging.
And why, may I ask, have you chosen this day of all days to dig up the cellar floor?
Well, I thought because as the weather has been so damp, this would be a good time to plant that little devil's garden I told you about.
Devil's garden? Oh, whatever nonsense is that?
Don't you remember? That was my little joke about it. You see, I've managed to get a hold of the spores of several unclassified wild orchids. In their wild state, they bloom under damp masses of leaf mold. The South American Indians call them devil flowers because they appear to bloom under the ground.
Well, I'm sure the South American Indians will be very interested if you succeed in growing these ridiculous flowers under the cellar floor. Whom else it will interest, I can't imagine. Oh, what is that terrible smell?
Oh, well, that's the leaf mold, chemically identical with the earth blanket they grow under in the wild state. I suppose I should line the pit with concrete so as to prevent seepage from this foreign soil, but I don't suppose there will be much time for it now, and I do want to get these started before we close the house.
There certainly will not be time for it. Do you realize we're sailing for America a week from today, and you've made no arrangements whatsoever? Unless you call digging a hole in the cellar making arrangements. I certainly don't. Devil's Garden, indeed. Sometimes I think you're getting soft in the head, Hubert.
Oh, I suppose it's inconsiderate of me, but you see, I've been wanting to try this experiment for a long time, but with my lectures and seminars at the university, there never seemed to be enough time.
Well, there certainly isn't any time for it now. I suppose you've forgotten I made an arrangement for you and the barbers this afternoon.
Must I shave off my beard, Hermione?
Oh, I thought we'd been through that. Of course you must. They don't wear beards in America. And it's bad enough you speaking with that accent. Well, they'll probably think we're Germans as it is. Now, go and get your jacket and do as I tell you.
Yes, Hermione.
And don't forget to take your umbrella. It looks like rain.
Yes, Hermione.
Oh, and don't look so put upon, Hubert. Someone has to plan things in this house, or you'd never get to the university in time for your lectures, much less make arrangements for a trip to America.
Oh, I know, but what about my specimens?
Well, there'll be plenty of time to plant your precious devil's garden when we're home from America. We're not going to be gone forever, you know. We'll be back for Christmas.
Yes, of course, back for Christmas. I'd forgotten.
Well, try to remember it. And if you can't do that, just do as I tell you. I've been making plans in this house for 20 years. And if there's any digging to be done, I'll manage that as well. You understand, Hubert?
Yes, Hermione.
Good. Now you have 20 minutes to clean up this mess here and get your appointment at the barber's. And when you're finished there, I want you to come straight home.
All right. I wanted to stop at Miss Markham's and pick up some books I ordered.
Well, all right. But don't loiter there all afternoon, mulling over those old books that you usually do. Now hurry and clean up this rubbish and get rid of that smelly stuff. And no more diggings, mind you.
No more digging. I'll show her no more digging. Oh, I'll have my devil's garden if I... No more digging. No more digging. Yes, Hermione. How many years has it been since I've been saying that? 10 years? 15? 20? Clear up the rubbish. Yes, Hermione. Don't forget your umbrella. Yes, Hermione. Do this, do that. Yes, Hermione. Yes, yes. Oh, how much longer can I stand this?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Miss Markham.
Why, it is Professor Schumacher, isn't it?
Oh, you like me better this way?
Oh, you look ever so much younger without the beard. 20 years at least.
20 years?
Oh, you'll be glad to know those books you ordered have finally arrived.
Oh yes, the books.
Phytotomy of phalloid gametophytes and coniferous shrubs of North America. Those are the ones you ordered, aren't they?
Oh yes, thank you. You're very kind, Miss Markham.
Why kind, Professor Schumacher?
Well, not many young ladies in bookshops would go out of their way to look up rare books for an old professor of botany.
Why, you're not old, Professor Schumacher. Really, you look And besides, I adore botany. It's my particular hobby.
Oh, really? Oh, you never told me that before, Miss Markham.
Well, I was afraid to. You're so imposing with the beard and all.
Oh, you might be interested in some specimen of alpine Polyanthus that were just sent to me by a friend in Switzerland.
Switzerland. I used to go there always for my holidays before the war.
You love Switzerland?
Oh, every part of it. The lakes, the mountains, the beautiful spring flowers, especially the flowers.
It seems we have quite a lot in common, Miss Markham. I'm sorry we haven't talked before.
I am too. It was all the fault of the beard, it seems.
Miss Markham, forgive me if this sounds foolish, but I feel that shaving off my beard is the most important thing I've done for 20 years.
Oh, it is. I'm sure it is. I'm ashamed that I've been so distant with you all this time. Oh, there were times when I almost spoke up. Times when you came in here tired after a day with your students at the university. You seemed so alone, the way I'm alone in the world. I'd like to have asked you to stay a while and talk with me, but some way or another I wound up giving you your change and letting you go on your way.
You say you are all alone in the world?
Since my father died.
Oh, Miss Markham, did you never think of marrying?
Well, my father was a very remarkable man. I never found anyone who seemed to measure up to what he'd led me to expect of men.
Miss Markham?
Oh, it's been so long since anyone called me by my first name. I'd like you to, if you want to. It's Marion.
Marion.
And yours?
Hubert.
How long have you been alone, Hubert?
Alone?
I knew you were a widower, of course, the first time I saw you.
A widower?
Oh, I can always tell. There's a certain sadness in a man's eyes. A sweet sadness, I think, when he's been married and then...
A widower? I never thought of it in quite that way.
Perhaps I shouldn't be talking like this, I suppose, but I've wondered what she must have been like. Your wife, I mean.
Oh, Hermione? Well, not an easy woman to forget. Very strong, always managing things. The house, my wardrobe, my friends, even when we dined at the restaurant and she even ordered my food. Oh, she was always managing things. Her whole life, she managed herself to death.
Poor woman. She must have loved you very much. But she needn't have put herself out so. It's plain to see you don't need things managed for you. You need companionship, I think. Someone sympathetic with your work. But the last thing on earth you need is a manager.
How well you put it. The last thing on earth. That's the first time I thought of it, of course. And suddenly, a whole new world opened up before my eyes. Marion and America, and no more of Hermione's planning my life for me. By the time I got home, my mind was working overtime.
Well, at last. You certainly took long enough about it. Oh, what are you looking so pleased about?
Oh, I don't know. Getting rid of the beard, perhaps. I feel 20 years younger.
You look even smaller. Your face looks triangular or something. Oh, and I'd forgotten your chin was so weak. Oh, but never mind. You can grow it back soon enough after Christmas. Where are you going?
Oh, down in the cellar. I just bought this electric lantern and I thought I'd put it away down there.
Now, whatever possessed you to buy a thing like that?
I don't know. I rather like this lantern. It might come in handy. Who knows?
Now, Hubert, don't start digging down there again. I've 100 things to do. Putting the house in order before we leave, And I want you to carry these boxes upstairs for me.
Yes, Hermione.
And if you're going down to the cellar, take this along and stuff it into the furnace.
Oh, but this is my old bathrobe. I may need it.
Nonsense. I've bought you a new one. Now get rid of it. And don't start puttering down there with that devil's garden or whatever you call it.
Oh, I'm through digging, my dear. I think the pit is quite deep enough now for my devil's garden. It would all have to be carefully planned, of course. Just as carefully planned as Hermione was planning the trip to America. We both went about our arrangements as the day passed. I spent all the time I could with Marion, and finally she consented. And then it was the last day, the big day, the day we were to sail for America.
Operator? Operator, are you there? Well, I'm still waiting on that call to Salisbury. Oh? Well, put them on quickly. Hello? Is this Paul Holt and Sons? Is Mrs. Hubert Schumacher. Did you receive my letter? Oh, good. Now remember, we'll be back for Christmas. And I want the job done without fail. What's that? Oh, no, I'm sure he doesn't suspect anything. Now send the bill to me in New York, as I instructed you. Addressed in my name, of course. Yes, I put them in the mail. You'll get them tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, here you are, Hubert. Where have you been?
Oh, backstairs. I dismissed the servants.
Dismiss the servants? But I've asked some friends of mine to a farewell luncheon. Now, go and tell them it's a mistake.
Well, I'm afraid it is too late now. They've packed and gone.
You have messed things up properly. And how many times have I told you to leave things to me? I make the plans around here.
Yes, Hermione.
Oh, you'll have to do better than this when we plan the trip home, or we'll never in the world be back for Christmas.
Oh, back for Christmas. Back for Christmas. Must you keep saying that?
Why not? We are coming back for Christmas, aren't we?
Well, so supposing I were offered a professorship in one of those wealthy American universities.
Nonsense. Americans cared nothing for botany.
Well, Luther Burbank was an American.
That's different. What have you ever done except muck around in the dirt with lots of roots and tubers?
Oh, but they asked me to lecture. That means something.
Of course they asked you to lecture. Americans will pay to hear a foreigner deliver a lecture. Once. Now, there's no use getting yourself in a state about this, Hubert. Now, no doubt this money will come in handy when we arrive back for Christmas. Precisely. And it's no good you're making a joke of it. Now, heaven knows where you'd be today if I hadn't had a sense of time.
Yes, Hermione.
And as you've been so foolish to dismiss the servants, you may empty the ashtrays and straighten up this room while we're waiting for the guests to arrive. I'm going upstairs. Call me when they get here.
Yes, Hermione. Yes, Hermione. Yes, Hermione. For 20 years, Hermione. Always so right. Thought of everything. Well, not quite everything. Oh, there. Running her bath now. Safe to call Marion. If Marion were to change her mind now, well, after all, we haven't known each other very long for this sort of thing. If she had any idea that I was not a widower yet. Marion, it's Hubert, my darling. Oh, no, nothing's wrong. No, my plans, they are the same, unless you've changed. No? We'll meet in New York, yes, and be married there. I'll explain why later. You just have to trust me. Oh, yes, my darling.
Hubert!
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't talk any longer. Yes, I'll meet you in New York, without fail. Until then, my darling.
Hubert, were you talking on the phone just now?
Yes, Hermione.
Well, whoever was it?
Oh, Freddie Sinclair.
Didn't I hear you say something about Meeting somebody in New York?
Oh, why, yes. Old Freddie said he might possibly get over there before we leave. And I said, of course, we'd meet him there if he did decide to go.
That seems very peculiar. But then all of your friends are peculiar.
Yes, Hermione.
Oh, just look at your jacket. Have you been digging in that cellar again?
Yes, Hermione.
Well, there's no need for it. You can't possibly get the Devil's Garden thing finished before we sail for America. Now, go and change your clothes before the guests arrive.
Yes, Hermione.
Oh, never mind. I see someone coming up the walk now. Go and let them in.
Yes, Hermione.
Hubert,
Yes?
look out the window. There's Professor and Mrs. Goodenour. But who's that with them?
Why, it's,
Precisely. Freddie Sinclair. Now, peculiar, you should have been talking to him on the phone not 3 minutes ago, and now here he is.
Oh, yes, isn't it? But then, as you say, Hermione, all of my friends are peculiar.
Not as half so peculiar as you, digging in the cellar the day before we leave for America. Oh, just look at yourself. And now, come to think of it...
Yes?
Oh, never mind. Go let them in.
Oh, but you were going to ask me something, Hermione, about the hole I'm digging in the cellar?
Oh, good heavens. Now stop rolling your eyes about that way. Oh, one would think that you're digging a grave down there instead of a storage bin.
Yes, Hermione.
What's that?
I said yes, Hermione.
Oh, bother. Open the door and please stop saying yes, Hermione.
I think, my dear, I've said it for the last time.
A professor of botany, his loving wife, and a pit in the cellar. Just the right size for his botanical specimens. His devil's garden, with these ingredients for a story of a perfect crime. Back for Christmas, by John Collier and starring Peter Lorre, the Roma Wine Company closes the curtain for a moment on another breathless study in suspense.
In this brief intermission in the play, it is pleasant to think about the holidays. Not everyone celebrates the holidays against a background of snow and pine trees. Somewhere south of the Gulf in the Caribbean, in a gracious home surrounded by palm trees and the warm sun, you might find holiday dinners ending this way.
Un momento, please. Our North American guest wishes to propose a toast.
Yes, amigos, I drink a toast in gratitude to you for your gracious hospitality and enjoyment you've given me, an American so far from home.
It is only a fair exchange, my friend. This wine in which you drink your toast, it brings enjoyment to us from your country, from America. It is Roma wine, made in your own California.
Yes, and when you choose the wine for your own holiday table, remember this. Only a few wines are so fine that many of the countries of the world import them. And among these greatly enjoyable wines are the wines of Roma, R-O-M-A, made in California, for enjoyment throughout the world. Yes, here in America, we are truly fortunate, for we may buy Roma wines at a very low cost, since we don't have to pay import duties or costly shipping charges. So serve Roma wine with pride on any and all holiday occasions. Serve Roma, too, for everyday dinners you can afford to. Ask your dealer tomorrow for your favorite Roma wine, America's largest selling wine. But before you buy wine, buy war bonds.
Looking for quality entertainment without the high prices and long lines, then the Riverside Township radio players need to be your New Year's resolution. For 21 years, the players have entertained audiences, bringing old-time radio to life. From comedy to drama, science fiction to westerns, the radio players perform a variety of shows from radio's golden age.
Make sure you save January 24th, February 28th, March 27th, April 24th, and May 22nd in your New Year's calendar for radio theater at the Riverside Township Hall. 7:30 p.m. is always the start time, and feel free to invite a friend or two. All the information can be found at riversidetownshipradioplayers.com, or if you're on Twitter, follow @radioplayers for updates. You can even listen to past performances through YouTube by searching Riverside Township Radio Players and subscribing to our channel. Thanks for celebrating 21 years with us, and our sincere wishes for a safe and joyous holiday season.
And now, it is with pleasure we bring back to our soundstage Mr. Peter Lorre in Act 2 of Back for Christmas. A tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Back for Christmas. Hermione was so positive we would be back for Christmas. That last afternoon, pouring tea out for a few friends who had come in to say last-minute farewells, she kept reiterating it.
Now, mind you, Hermione, don't let those Americans lure your husband with one of their fat university jobs. We absolutely must have you with us for Christmas.
He will be back, I promise you.
Well, it's not absolutely certain, of course.
Hubert, what do you mean it's not certain? Of course it's certain.
After all, Hubert, old boy, you've contracted to lecture for only 3 months.
Oh, that's quite right, but then, of course, anything may happen.
Oh, Hubert adores being unpredictable. Now, what other man would decide the very day, mind you, before leaving for America, to dig a great hole in the floor of the cellar?
In the cellar?
Yes, he's going to put some unclassified wild orchids down there. A devil's garden, if you please. Oh, it sounds so mysterious. Oh, that's Hubert, though. Oh, it's really quite simple, however, once you find out what he's up to. Now, take that telephone call he put through a few minutes before you arrived, Freddie.
To me?
Yes, of course. And Hubert wanted to surprise me about your plan to meet us in New York next month. Wasn't that why he called? To ask you not to mention it?
Oh, but my dear Hermione, Hubert couldn't possibly have telephoned me within the last hour. But I've been walking in the park.
Oh, he didn't telephone you?
Now, how could he? How could he? And as for my going to America...
Oh, now come, Freddie. You may as well confess Hermione just found me out again.
But Hubert, old chap, I really don't...
Oh, you see what a poor liar Hubert makes. He's as red as a beetroot.
Aren't you ashamed of yourself, Professor, stringing poor Hermione along like that? And as for you, Freddie, I'm furious you said nothing to us about going to America.
But look here, old girl. I've been trying to tell you everyone here.
Oh, stuff it, nonsense. The game's gone on long enough. Besides, we must start getting ready. Oh, it was marvelous of you all to come by to say goodbye. And don't worry about Hubert's little jokes. I will bring him back for Christmas. You may rely on it.
They all believed her. For years she had been promising me for dinner parties, garden parties, committees, and the promises had always been kept. This time they would not be. I'd seen to that. The servants were gone for good. The farewells all said. I had timed to the minute how long it would take to fill in the hole in the cellar. My devil's garden. Upstairs in the bedroom, I undressed, folded my clothes over a chair, and put on my old bathrobe. And then I opened the door into Hermione's room. Hermione, have you a moment to spare?
Oh, of course, dear. I've just finished.
Oh, then come in here for a moment. There's something rather extraordinary in here.
Oh, good heavens, Hubert. What are you lounging about in that filthy old bathrobe for? I told you to put that into the furnace.
Oh, I'll do it. I'll do it today. Yes, I really will. I promise.
Well, high time. Now, what is it that you want to show me?
Oh, here, in the bathroom. Now just look. Who in the world do you suppose dropped the gold chain down the bathtub drain?
Oh, nobody has, of course. Nobody wears such a thing.
Oh, but then what is it doing here?
I don't see anything.
Oh, here, look here. I'll hold this flashlight for you. If you lean right over, you can see it shining. Oh, it's deep down.
Oh, such a lot of nonsense. Oh, just as we're... Oh, I don't see it, Hubert.
Oh, go on looking, Hermione. In just a moment.
Oh, Hubert, I absolutely refuse to. Hubert, what are you doing? Take your hands off my neck!
I will, Hermione, just as soon as I finish the arrangements for my trip to America.
What are you talking about?
Oh, you thought you were the only one who could plan things, didn't you? Didn't you, Hermione? Well, I've been making some plans of my own this past week. In exactly 2 minutes and 16 seconds, you'll be dead, Hermione. You see, I've planned it very accurately.
You'll never get away with it.
Oh, I thought you would say that, Hermione. But I will get away with it. You won't mind the smell of the leaf mold down in the cellar when I take you down there today. Yes, that is where you're going, Hermione. Right into my devil's garden that annoyed you so much. The soil is full of clay. It won't settle much. In a month or so, it won't even look dug up.
My friends, well, they'll expect me to be back for Christmas. If they don't hear from me, they'll wonder. And if I don't come back, they'll start asking questions.
No, they won't. Because you'll write them letters, Hermione, on the typewriter, as you always do. And they'll be signed H in that neat, cryptic way you always sign your notes to your friends.
Don't let me up now.
No!
It won't work, Hubert. You've never been any good at planning things.
Oh, but I've changed. I've learned from watching you all these years.
The lecture people in America, they're expecting you to be traveling with your wife.
I will be traveling with my wife, but not my present wife, Hermione. Fortunately, they've never met you. I'll write a few letters home for you, then fewer and fewer, write letters signed with my own name, always expecting to get back, never quite able to. Keep the house 1 year, then another, then another. Oh, they'll get used to it. I might even come back alone in a year or two and clear it all up properly. Say you died in America. Nobody will ever suspect that you are lying under the floor of the cellar in this very house.
Hubert, it won't work, I tell you. That pit you dug in the cellar.
I can assure you, my dear Hermione, it will serve its purpose well.
Hubert!
Sorry, my dear. I've got to get this done on schedule. You have just 5 seconds to say your prayers.
Hubert, you must listen. The cellar, don't do it! Hubert! Hubert!
Quiet, Hermione! The water cut off at the main as I knew she would order it. Oh, she was so thorough. So was I. A clean blow at the base of the skull. Nothing to wash up. The electric current shut off at 1 o'clock, just as she ordered it. Oh, she thought of everything. But so did I. My nice new electric lantern. Plenty of light to work by in the cellar. The old bathrobe she wanted me to throw away came in handy now, if there should be any chance of bloodstain. Then in the fire with it afterwards. The last evidence of my devil's garden. It was going well. Still an hour till I had to leave for the boat. The hole was almost filled. And after that, it was easy. Put the finishing touches on the devil's garden. Dress fast, get out of the house before 6:30, take the boat train to Southampton and board the ship for America. All according to plan. Hermione's plan. Oh, steward. Yes, sir. My wife is indisposed. She'll be taking her meals in our stateroom. For the whole voyage? Well, yes, for the whole voyage.
I trust your wife is feeling better this morning, Professor Schumacher.
Well, a little, but not well enough yet to leave her cabin.
I'm sorry. By the way, here's a copy of the radiogram you sent for your wife last evening.
Oh, thank you. I'll just check it over. But look here.
What is it? Did the typist make a mistake?
Oh, no, nothing important. She can correct it later. For a moment, I had a feeling that Hermione had been leaning over my shoulder again, correcting what I had written, as she always did. I had written a radiogram to Professor Goodenow and his wife. Haven't been out of my cabin the whole beastly trip. Hubert well. No doubt will be back for Christmas. Oh, the copy read, no doubt will be back for Christmas. Exactly what Hermione would have written. Well, the rest of the trip was uneventful, and Marion and I met in New York just as we had planned. Just as we had planned. Professor and Mrs. Schumacher, we have reservations, I believe.
Oh, yes, we've been expecting you, sir. Boy, take the professor and Mrs. Schumacher's luggage up to their suite. You know, Mrs. Schumacher, you're quite a surprise. Your letter reserving the rooms was so thorough, I was expecting an older, more forbidding sort of person, frankly, ma'am.
No. As a matter of fact, we are just married, but my letter reserving the rooms?
Oh, I wrote the letter, my dear, and signed it Mrs. Hubert Schumacher, just as a joke.
What a cunning old fox you are, Hubert.
Oh, now that I think of it, I am
Oh,
rather...
I almost forgot. There's a letter for you, Mrs. Schumacher.
That's peculiar. I wonder who on earth...
Oh, well, we shall find out in good time. Come along, my dear. We mustn't keep the boy waiting. Nothing like a cold, brisk shower to put a man to rights.
Hubert, this letter...
Oh, yes, the letter. Try my hair, will you, dear?
It seems to be a bill of some sort from a building contractor in Salisbury.
Oh, really?
Oh, bother. Dry your own hair.
Oh, thank you, darling. Now let's see this bill, or whatever it is.
It's very puzzling, Hubert. You were a widower, weren't you? I mean, Hermione isn't still alive.
Oh, good heavens, no. Let me read that. Yeah, dear madam, that's a good one. This is to acknowledge your order, together with the keys to your house in Launceston Place. Our men had no difficulty in finding the place where your husband had begun the excavation in the cellar. But apparently, he changed his mind at the last moment and filled it in again.
What is it, Hubert?
Our men will begin digging tomorrow, and you may rest assured that it will be a professional job and will be completed in ample time for your surprise Christmas present to your husband. We are happy to be conspirators with you in this thoughtful gesture, and hope that Professor Schumacher will be pleased at the results of our work that he so quaintly calls his Devil's Garden. Very truly yours, Paul Holt and Sons Contractors.
What does it mean, Hubert?
Oh, it means that Hermione was right. I will be back for Christmas. I will be back for Christmas, back for Christmas, back for Christmas. Yes, Hermione!
And so closes Back for Christmas, starring Mr. Peter Lorre. Tonight's tale of Suspense.
In just a moment, we shall hear again from Mr. Laurie. But first, just a word that seems appropriate. One of the world's oldest customs is the Christmas toast, and traditionally down through centuries of war and peace, the Christmas toast has been drunken wine. This year, when the glasses are filled and raised once again, we know that in every home the toast will be to a speedy victory and a speedy return of those we love. And before we set the wine glasses down, let us all resolve to do everything within our power to help make that toast come true. Let us resolve to help supply the weapons of war by buying even more and more war bonds. Let us resolve to face our own inconveniences without complaining, and above all, let us resolve that when this war is at last over, each of us will exert all of our effort to see the future's Christmases truly express peace on earth, goodwill to men and women. This thought, together with our very best wishes of the season, is the Roma Wine Company's Christmas message for you as friends here in America and throughout the world.
This is Peter Lorre. Thank you for listening to our suspense play this evening, and I know you are looking forward to next week's show as I am. It is called Finishing School, and its subtitle might be the famous quotation, "The female of the species is more deadly than the male."
Don't forget then, next Thursday, same time, for Margot with Miss Elsa Lanchester, Janet Beecher, and a distinguished all-feminine cast in Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wines, ROMA, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. Let's meet our cast of Suspense. The clerk and the master of sound was Marty McNulty. Playing the steward was Tom Wilkins. For those who don't know, Tom is our very newest member. Hubert's friend Sinclair was Tom Duggan. Mrs. Hewitt and our second commercial announcer was Sue Kaczynski. Our third commercial announcer was John Byan. Our main commercial announcer, who was constantly pushing Roma wines, was Amy Nieves. Marion, the lovely lady at the bookstore that Hubert fell in love with, was Kathy Juarez. Hubert's nagging wife, Hermione, who ensured Hubert would be back for Christmas, was Donna Amesmeyer. And Hubert, the botany professor that almost got away with murder, was our Peter Lorre sound-alike, Jacob Palka. And the man in black, the voice of suspense, was yours truly, Andre Dixon.
I told you it wouldn't end well. This was a really difficult show between the accents and everything. Give this group one more round of applause. This was